By federal standards, 6% of the state lacks access to high-speed internet. According to FCC data, in 2017, that gap widened across the entire valley, of course, Union Valley among it. An estimated 21% lacked such access that year. Why or why not is the availability of broadband internet critical in rural parts of Union County, and what steps, if any, do you believe county government should take to address this issue?
Well, you know, I heard that that was the main issue of one of my colleagues, and so I started to take a look at it, and I found the same statistics that you had, but it didn't really strike me as personal until literally just 2 days ago. I met with some folks for a business relationship, but she's an accountant, and they are probably 20 yards away from the end of their where the cable runs. They have absolutely no internet access at all. So they've been relying on cell phone access, and they have to turn everything else off when she's working because she has to have access to the internet. As it turned out, this one day, and in fact it was April 15th, there was a problem with the cell phones in their area, and she had no access whatsoever. She's an accountant. She had customers whose returns had to be filed that day, so she had to pack everything up in a car and drive to a friend's house and get on their internet and finish her job. That really pointed out to me just how crucial it is. So many of us rely on the internet for our work, and that really limits the opportunities, the possibilities for people in rural areas, and that's not right. What should county government do about it? Well, each one of there are municipalities in the area who approve cable contracts, and many of us, most of us I think, get our internet access, our broadband access through our cable connection. We've got to structure the agreements with the cable companies in such a way that if they aren't serving everybody, we shouldn't be paying them what we pay them, and it is significant. And even if we're not paying them a significant amount of money, they're making a significant amount of money by the fact that we give them a monopolistic opportunity to serve cable to the people in the county. So I think we have to work with the companies that are out there and that we already have in place, restructure agreements, and frankly, if that doesn't work, we've got to find other companies that are willing to go in and take care of our people.
Union County Commissioners went 8 years without an increase to the general fund tax, before a slight increase entering 2017. The board held the line in the 2 years since.
Mm-hmm.
In what scenarios, if any, do you envision a tax increase as unavoidable, and do you foresee that playing out over the coming 4-year term?
There are very few things that are unavoidable. I mean, there are always ways to work around situations, but there are also emergencies. I spent 8 years on a school board, and I spent 4 years on the CSIU board, both a number of the years on each of those as president of the board. There's a fine line that you have to walk. There's a balance between keeping taxes as low as possible and making sure that the projects and the programs that you're presenting are complete and correct. You want to get the best value to the taxpayers without raising taxes. And again, it's a fine line you balance. In every case that I had an opportunity, I fought putting more pressure on taxpayers by raising taxes. In those cases, there were times when we had more students. There are times when we had to replace school books, things of that nature. There was one time that we had to replace computers. There was a lab of computers for elementary kids that just wasn't functioning, and we had to replace them. So in those instances, there were times when the program demanded that we take care of the constituents that we were trying to help, rather than letting them out in the cold. But we also, I have to say, found other ways that we could economize to accommodate that. So it takes resourcefulness. It takes a willingness to look beyond what's right in front of you and find other ways to pay for things. It's very important to keep taxes down. we all pay too many taxes, there's no question. But when we take on a project, when we take on programs for the taxpayers, we need to make sure that they're fulfilled.
What do you believe to be the most pressing issue facing Union County residents, and do you have a plan to address it?
Well, for right now, I think it's, and I've heard this a lot from the people that I've talked to, is what are we going to do with Great Stream Commons? It was a heroic thing for the commissioners to do in the 90s when they stepped in and purchased the property. I don't know if you were here at the time or if many of the people who will be looking at this were here, but we were faced with a threat, a significant and very real threat of a hazardous waste incinerator on that property. I was on the steering committee to stop that, and we were able to stop that. We were able to stop it by being persistent. But the commissioners stepped in and purchased the property to save us from having to deal with that again. Unfortunately, no one has come forward other than the eye clinic up there to use any of that property. So that's a thorn in the side of every taxpayer in the county. We're paying for that constantly. We're paying the payments to buy that property. We're paying to advertise it. We're paying to get it out there. I mean, it's a considerable and continuing expense. The previous question about holding taxes down ties right into that. We need to take care of what's going on up there, or what's not going on up there. It's my understanding that the county has been looking for a large company to come in and provide a significant number of jobs and use or purchase a significant piece of the property. I think we have to look a different way and be, again, resourceful about how we do that. There's opportunities, I think, for economic development where we could maybe split that up into smaller parcels so that smaller manufacturing could come in, or smaller businesses. I think a business incubator that would have facilities like food preparation or shop facilities that people could come in and use for partial parts of the day to run their business. But again, it's about being resourceful. It's about finding a different and better way to do it. The other opportunity we have on that very large piece of property is we could very easily put a portion of that under solar and generate a significant amount of income by generating power. That power could be used in the county, could be sold to the prison to offset their power usage, but that's a lot of empty land going to waste, basically, because we just haven't been resourceful enough.
What is the most under-the-radar issue facing Union County taxpayers, and what is your solution to address that?
You know, I don't know if there is a significant issue that's facing us. There will always be issues, and there will always be things that pop up. The nature of the job is not to come in or not to campaign on a single issue. I think the nature of the job is management of the county, that we are always going to have issues and we are always going to have situations come up. We need to have people who are willing to look at those issues and deal with them with some creativity, but deal with them as they come up and take care of them. I've seen too many people for commissioner, for school board seats, things like that, come in on a single issue, and I'm going to take care of this, and this is what I'm going to do. And they find when they get into office that it's not nearly that cut and dry, that there are other things that are more important, or things pop up that are more important. So I think the biggest thing perhaps is leadership, and that may be the best way to put it. That we need people who will be stewards for the county's resources and be creative in the way they take care of issues as they arise, and they always arise.
Why do you believe county voters choose you to become a Union County Commissioner?
To a large degree, that I have experience. I've lived most of my life in the county. I've lived in Union County for the last, my gosh, nearly 40 years, uninterrupted. I have had over 12 years experience on a taxing body where I was taking care of whether or not people's taxes went up or went down, and dealing with situations. Again, it's a management kind of a thing. It's not so much issue oriented. I've always been very entrepreneurial, and again, I'm just very connected to the county. I don't know if there's a single issue that I'm going to say that I would ride on into the office. It's just sound management, and I've got a lot of experience doing that, keeping people's taxes down.
Steve, thanks for being with us today. I appreciate it.
I appreciate your time. Thank you.